Dr. Sarah Ortiz was in surgery when she got the call. Her foster daughter Mia had been in a terrible accident. Racing to the ER, her blue eyes filled with terror as she saw the girl she loved fighting for her life. Sarah was 3 hours into a complex cardiac procedure when her phone buzzed with an emergency call from Mia's school. Under normal circumstances, nothing would have pulled her away from the operating table, but the words "severe accident" and 12-year-old Mia. Rodriguez shattered every protocol. "Dr. Patterson, can you take over?" Sarah asked her colleague, her voice steady despite the panic rising in her chest. "I have a family emergency." The blonde surgeon stripped off her surgical gown with trembling hands, her piercing blue eyes already focused on getting to the emergency department. 2 years ago, Mia had been just another case file. A foster child who had been through 6 different homes, labeled as difficult and attachment-resistant by social services. Now, Mia was everything to Sarah. The daughter she'd never planned to have, the family she'd never known she needed. Sarah's heels clicked against the hospital floors as she rushed toward the ER, her mind racing through worst-case scenarios. The school had been vague about details: playground accident, head injury, ambulance en route to Metropolitan General. Every second felt like hours as Sarah fought the urge to run. The sight that greeted her in Trauma Bay 3 stopped her world completely. Mia lay unconscious on the gurney, her small body dwarfed by the medical equipment surrounding her. The vibrant 12-year-old who had painted Sarah's kitchen walls with handprints just that morning was now connected to monitors and IVs, her face pale and still. "What happened?" Sarah demanded, her medical training taking over as she assessed Mia's condition with professional eyes while her heart broke as a mother. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, the ER attending, looked up from the chart with sympathetic eyes. "Playground accident. She fell from the monkey bars and hit her head on the concrete. Initial scans show significant intracranial bleeding and swelling. Sarah, she needs immediate neurosurgery." The words hit Sarah like physical blows. Intracranial bleeding in a child Mia's age was catastrophic, requiring precise surgical intervention within hours to prevent permanent brain damage or death. Sarah knew the statistics, understood the risks, had performed similar surgeries countless times, but never on her own child. "Who's operating?" Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. She was the hospital's leading pediatric neurosurgeon, the doctor other surgeons called for impossible cases involving children. Under any other circumstances, Mia would be her patient. "Sarah," Dr. Walsh said gently, "you know you can't operate on her. Dr. Kim is available, and we've called in Dr. Stevens from Children's Hospital." Sarah looked down at Mia's face, so peaceful despite the trauma her small body had endured. This was the girl who had initially refused to speak to Sarah for 3 months, who had tested every boundary and challenged every rule. The same girl who now called Sarah Mom and drew pictures of their family that covered the refrigerator at home. The foster care system had failed Mia 6 times, but Sarah had promised this would be different. Dr. Kim's success rate with pediatric intracranial bleeds is 73%, Sarah said, her voice clinical even as her hands shook. Dr. Stevens is at 71%. Mine is 89%. "Sarah, you're emotionally compromised, Doctor," Walsh replied firmly. "You can't make objective decisions about someone you love like a daughter." "Exactly," Sarah whispered, her blue eyes never leaving Mia's face. "I can't make objective decisions. I can only make the right decision." The debate continued around her. Ethics committees, hospital protocols, professional standards. But Sarah's focus was entirely on the child who had changed her life in ways she never expected. Mia had been placed in foster care at age 8 after her mother died of an overdose and no relatives could be found. 4 years of rejection, abandonment, and broken promises had left her wary of trusting any adult. Sarah had been different, patient where others had been frustrated, consistent where others had given up. Slowly, carefully, she had earned Mia's trust and, eventually, her love. The adoption paperwork was already in progress. In 6 months, Mia would legally be Sarah's daughter, if she survived the next 6 hours. The choice came down to a mother's love versus medical ethics. "I'm operating," Sarah announced, her voice carrying the authority that had made her one of the hospital's most respected surgeons. "File any complaints you want afterward, but right now, my daughter needs the best surgeon available, and that's me." Dr. Walsh stepped forward. "Sarah, think about this rationally. If something goes wrong," quote, "If something goes wrong," Sarah interrupted, "at least I'll know I gave her every possible chance. I won't stand by and watch my daughter die because of protocol." The surgical team assembled with quiet efficiency, understanding the emotional weight of what they were about to undertake. Sarah scrubbed in with hands that gradually steadied as her professional training took control. In the operating room, she wasn't a terrified mother, she was Dr. Sarah Ortiz, pediatric neurosurgeon, fighting for a life that mattered more than her own. The surgery lasted 4 hours and tested every skill Sarah had ever learned. Working with microscopic precision, Sarah navigated the delicate terrain of Mia's developing brain, removing blood clots and relieving pressure while preserving the neural pathways that controlled speech, movement, and memory. Every decision carried the weight of her daughter's future. Would Mia walk again, talk again, remember the mother who loved her? "Pressure's stabilizing," the anesthesiologist announced as Sarah completed the most critical repairs. "Brain activity looks good," added the neuromonitoring technician. For the first time in hours, Sarah allowed herself to hope. Mia's young brain was responding to treatment, the bleeding was controlled, and the swelling was beginning to subside. 18 hours later, Mia opened her eyes and spoke the word that made everything worthwhile. "Mom." Mia's voice was weak but clear, her eyes focusing on Sarah's face with perfect recognition. Sarah took her daughter's hand, tears streaming down her face as she felt the gentle squeeze that confirmed what the neurological tests had already shown. Mia had suffered no permanent damage from her injury. "I'm here, baby," Sarah whispered. "Mom's here." "Did you fix my brain?" Mia asked with the directness that had always characterized her personality. Sarah laughed through her tears. "Yes, sweetheart, I fixed your brain." "Good," Mia said seriously. "I need it for school tomorrow." 3 months later, the adoption was finalized in a courthouse ceremony that meant more to Sarah than any medical award she had ever received. Mia Rodriguez became Mia Ortiz, and Sarah learned that sometimes the greatest surgical success isn't measured in medical journals or peer recognition. It's measured in a child's laughter, a daughter's trust, and the family you choose to create with love, patience, and an unwavering commitment to never give up. Dr. Sarah Ortiz, the blonde surgeon with piercing blue eyes who had dedicated her life to saving children, discovered that the most important life she ever saved was the one that saved her in return. Sarah Ortiz's decision to operate on her foster daughter reminds us that family isn't always defined by blood. Sometimes it's defined by love, commitment, and the willingness to risk everything for someone who needs you. Her story shows us that the greatest medical achievements often happen when science meets unconditional love. If Dr. Sarah Ortiz's journey from surgeon to mother touched your heart, subscribe to the Frontline Voice for more real stories about family, medicine, and love. Hit like if you believe foster children deserve parents who will fight for them. Tell us in the comments. Would you have made the same choice Sarah did? Share this story with someone who understands that family is created by choice, not chance. Until next time, remember that the most important operations sometimes happen not in the OR, but in the heart, when we choose to love a child who needs us most.